Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Hannah here, and thank you so much for joining me, guys. So today I'm going to be doing my long-awaited birth story video. I'm going to try and keep it short and snappy because I know that birth story videos can go on for like 30-40 minutes, and I'm going to try and keep this to about 10-15 minutes just to kind of get through everything that happened. And guys, it was traumatic, let me tell you. No, it was fine. Like, I have my beautiful baby boy now. We've called him Noah. He's absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, it's a positive birth story. However, like, it was a lot, guys. It really was. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I have my phone with me here because I actually started writing notes whilst I was giving birth. Not whilst I was giving birth, whilst I was in labour, I started writing notes. So let me just get my notes up quickly. So I've got my notes up, and I actually started writing these notes when I was in the hospital. So it was the 17th of February. I actually was 37 weeks and 2 days, and I went for a sweep and a cervix check. So a sweep is basically when they put their hand up and feel inside your cervix and kind of sweep around the baby's head to separate the membranes from the wall to help kind of your labour start. Now, I had to have an induction at 38 weeks because I had gestational diabetes, so I had a high-risk pregnancy, so they wanted to get him out or make me give birth basically at 38 weeks, just so that he didn't go too big and there were no complications. Oh, ouch. So on the 17th I had a sweep, and she felt the baby's head. She felt that he was quite low down, and throughout the day I had little bits of blood and stuff like that. Sorry guys if this is graphic as well. Like, if you want to listen to this, then please keep watching. If not, disclaimer, like, I'm going to be mentioning everything and anything and trying to be as truthful as possible as well, so I'm not leaving anything out. So there was a little bit of blood throughout the day on the 17th when I had the sweep, and then the next day my mucus plug came out, and mucus plug is basically like a big glob of snot. That's what it looks like. Disgusting. So I thought to myself, okay, so 18th the mucus plug came out. I thought, oh my god, I'm going to come into labour soon. I was only 37 weeks and 3 days, and my induction was booked for the Tuesday after, which was the 23rd of February. So on the 23rd of February I went in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was so excited. We were like, oh my god, we're gonna have our baby today, blah blah blah. Little did I know, I didn't end up having a baby until 2 days later. But yeah, I went in on the 23rd for the induction, and the way that they induced me was they gave me the Pessary. Now the Pessary is like a small tablet that goes up your missus basically, and it has like a big long string on it. Now for mine, it reminded me of a shoelace. So when I was talking to my sister, I was texting, I was like, they've just put a shoelace inside me, and it was the Pessary basically. So that was at 2 p.m. on the 23rd, Tuesday the 23rd. So 2 p.m. they put the Pessary in, and it's supposed to take 24 hours to work. So the Pessary is supposed to kind of stimulate you to start contracting, your uterus start contracting for over 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, that's when you're supposed to start getting like more strong contractions. Now I wasn't feeling anything. My husband was there with me as well from 2 till 7 visiting time, and I wasn't feeling anything. By about 4:30 that day, I kind of felt really small twinges, period pains type feelings, and it wasn't too bad, to be honest. And then he left at 7, and at 7:30 I started getting like these really strong pains. Now when I say really strong, it was like a strong period pain, so it wasn't like overly extremely, you know, hurtful or anything like that. It was, what am I saying? It was a strong period pain. It was a mild contraction. That's what it was. So that was about 7:30. So I did write down period pains and tightening about 3 to 4 out of 10 in 1927. So that was 7:27. And then I took some paracetamol, some codeine. They give you codeine and paracetamol to kind of help with the pain. At 8:30 I took some paracetamol and codeine, and then at 9:30 I was crying because the pain was getting a lot stronger. It was like a 5 to 6 out of 10, and I asked them to come and do an observation to kind of check me out to see what's going on. So they came over, they checked the baby's heart and things like that. Everything was fine. They said the contractions weren't too strong, so they kind of left me at it. Then at 11:30 I started getting some quite strong contractions, and my contractions were every single 2 minutes. So every 2 minutes they were for about 1 minute. And I was just remembering thinking from the office when Pam was pregnant, and she was like, when I'm at every 2 minutes I need to go to the hospital. And I'm thinking, I'm in the hospital, I'm contracting every 2 minutes, like how far along am I? And there was a girl across from me in the ward as well. She was screaming a lot, she was crying a lot. I was breathing through the whole thing. I feel like I didn't make any noise or anything. Okay, I understand why birth stories take ages, because it's already been 5 minutes and I'm literally on about the induction process. I'm not even on about the labour yet. So, okay, maybe it's going to be a little bit longer. So, like I said, I started contracting every 2 minutes for about 45 seconds to a minute and a half. And I was using an app where I was kind of calculating my contractions as well and keeping an eye on how long they were. And I tried to get to sleep at about 12 o'clock. So that was at 11:30. 12 o'clock, tried to get to sleep. Woke up at 1 o'clock. Had really strong contractions. This is 1 o'clock Wednesday morning. Really strong contractions, really bad. And the girl next to me in the kind of ward next to me, or the bed next to me, said to me, you need to call them to check you out because you can tell that there's been a difference in your breathing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I called the midwife, and they did a check, so an internal check, and they put the little monitors on my stomach as well to check me out. So it was about a 7 out of 10 pain. That's what I've written here. 7 out of 10 pain, really bad contractions. I had backache like never before as well. And that was at 1 o'clock or 1:10 a.m. on the Wednesday. I started getting really shivery as well, and my body was shaking. Like my hands were like this, my whole body was shaking, my teeth were clacking together so strongly. The midwife came and said that it was adrenaline and that my body wasn't used to it, kind of what was happening. And you know, unconsciously I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna be having a baby, so my body's gone into shock. So I'm like chattering away, and like I said, they put the monitor stuff on my stomach and they checked me out. I was only 2 centimeters dilated, 2 to 3 centimeters dilated at that time, but they could see the baby's heart rate dropping and then going really fast and then going really slow. So they thought, you know what, we need to move her to a birth suite. I was basically on the antenatal ward, so they said, well, let's move her to birth suite. My partner wasn't there. I had to ring him to come with me. I had to wait for a space in the birth suite because sometimes they don't have a midwife. They don't have a midwife to actually kind of assist you in the birth suite. You have to wait. So I had to wait until 3 a.m. in the morning. So from 1:10 a.m. till 3 a.m. I was just breathing through the contractions, no gas in there, no nothing. And then at 3 a.m. I went through to the birth suite. They wheeled me over to the birth suite with all my stuff. My partner came at about 3:15, 3:30. And I was only, like I said, 2 to 3 centimeters dilated. So now the worst thing was they had to pop my waters. When I was in the birth suite, they had to pop my waters. So, oh guys, I'm missing so many things out. When I was in the antenatal ward, the reason that I'd got to 3 centimeters so quickly and why I was having contractions every 2 minutes was because the pessary was overstimulating me. So they had to take the pessary out, and the midwife tried 3 times to take the pessary out, worst pain ever, and she couldn't get it out. The doctor had to come and pull it out. And what happened is the midwife that put it in had wrapped the shoelace around the pessary rather than kind of putting the pessary in and then shoving the shoelace, I'm saying shoelace, but the little lace that's attached to it, kind of just in as well, so that it's easy to tug out. She'd wrapped it around the pessary and put it in and shoved it to the side of my cervix, so they couldn't get it out. So the doctor had to come. So 4th time they had to stick their hand up there, my missus, and pull the pessary out. So it was overstimulating me because within 7 hours I was having contractions every 2 minutes, and I was having a minute contraction every 2 minutes. So like I said, they had to pop my waters when I went to the birth suite. That was the worst pain ever, absolutely horrible. I was wailing, like I wasn't crying, I wasn't screaming. I really didn't want to be a loud kind of labourer. So I was breathing through everything, but honestly, when they popped my waters or pulled that pessary out, that was a really bad pain for me. They also had to put a clip on my baby's head because they couldn't get, because I'm plus size, they couldn't get a read of the baby's heart rate too good with the little kind of monitors that they put on your belly. So they had to put a clip on his head. So they put the clip on his head and broke my waters, and then the clip fell out, and then they had to put the hand up again, put the clip back on. Now the more they put their hand up you to check you and things like that, the higher risk of infection you have. And that's what actually ended up happening to me. I ended up getting an infection, and that's why I ended up having an emergency C-section. However, it wasn't like I was 3 centimeters and then I got an infection, they found out, and I went for emergency C-section without labouring through. I was labouring from 3 a.m, well, from 11 a.m. on the Tuesday, 11 p.m. on the Tuesday, 1 a.m. on the Wednesday, up until the following 24 hours later, 2:25 a.m. on the Thursday, which is when I actually had my C-section. So about 27 hours labour it was, 36 hours in total, 27 hours of every 2 minutes contractions. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely terrible. So yeah, so they put the clip on his head, it fell off, they had to go up there again, put the clip on him again. Then I was basically labouring every 2 minutes. I didn't want anything apart from gas and air. However, because it was every 2 minutes and it started actually going to every around 45 to 1 minute, my contractions, and I was only like 5 centimeters dilated. Let me see, when was I 5 centimeters dilated? 4 p.m. So I'd been having these contractions every 2 minutes from 3 a.m. all the way 12 hours later, 13 hours later till 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. they checked me, I was only 45 centimeters dilated. I couldn't believe it. I took pethidine, so in the morning, so this is so higgledy-piggledy, I'm so sorry guys. So 1 a.m. that's when I started having these contractions. 3 a.m. I went to the birth suite. By 6 a.m. I had pethidine. I'd only been having gas and air. I had pethidine, which is like an injection into your thigh. That made me quite sleepy. And then 6 hours later, about 1 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, I had pethidine again, so 6 hours later. And then they checked me at 4 p.m. on the Wednesday and I was only 45 centimeters dilated. I couldn't believe it because the contractions were coming in fast and quick. Like I said, they were every 2 minutes. They've gone to like every 45 seconds to a minute, and they were about 20 seconds to about 50 seconds long each time. So painful. I was knackered. I was falling asleep in between contractions because I was having them so often. I was falling asleep in between for like 30 seconds, waking up, contracting, falling back to sleep. My husband was like the best birth partner ever. But like I said, I was 45 centimeters and I was having heavy contractions by 4 p.m. on the Wednesday. Now I couldn't deal, like by 6 p.m. on the Wednesday, I couldn't deal with the pain. I was crying. I was so upset, I was so tired, I was knackered. I did not want the epidural whatsoever. So the midwives were just lovely, absolutely lovely they were. I did not want the epidural. They literally advised me to get the epidural because I was in that much pain and I'd been contracting so often and so strongly. Like they have a kind of a measurement of your contractions as well. Mine was in the 70s, 80s, I think it's out of 100. And that was for 27 hours straight. So they said to me, you know, get the epidural. So they came around to give me the epidural, 6 o'clock on the Wednesday, and they put the epidural in. I was contracting while they were putting it in. You have to stay still and you have to crouch over. And I was contracting while they were putting it in. I found that very, very difficult. They put it in wrong. So yeah, they put it in wrong, the epidural. They had to take it out, push it back in a different way. And the epidural did not work, so it only worked on my right leg and not on my left leg. So my left leg was feeling all of the contractions pain, and I felt like that was worse than what it actually was. So it was worse when it was just kind of localized in one leg than when it was in both legs. So the anaesthetist came around again. They put more medicine into the epidural. It's like a little button that you press to kind of administer the epidural into your back. So they gave me more medication. It didn't work, it didn't help because the epidural had been put in wrong. So it didn't help. So what did they do? They came back, they pulled it out a little bit, wiggled it and put it back in again. And again, it did not work. So it didn't work, the epidural, but it was in there. I had to have a catheter in because you can't walk with the epidural because it makes you kind of numb or more likely to fall over and stuff. So yeah, so it was terrible. Contracting. Got to about 10 p.m. By 10 p.m. I was about 8 centimeters, 10 p.m. on the Wednesday. I was so happy I was 8 centimeters. I had the need to push though. They told me I can't push. I was feeling extreme pain. By 12, I was about 12, about 12:30, so 12:30 a.m. Thursday morning, I was 10 centimeters. Hallelujah. I was so happy I was 10 centimeters. I felt the need to push. I couldn't wait to push. I couldn't wait to like just have this over with. I was falling asleep in between. Every time that I pushed as well, more water was coming out. You know, my waters were breaking. I'd already been broken, but more water was coming out because my son was back to back. So my back obviously, and then his back, and he had to turn over before obviously I gave birth. So every time his head turned when I contracted, more water was coming out. And my husband kept telling me every time I contracted, I was like, water's coming. I kept screaming, water. Well, not screaming, but shouting, water's coming. And that's so funny to me now when I think about it. But anyway, so I got to 10 centimeters. Hallelujah. After 27 hours, got to 10 centimeters dilated and was ready to push. Now, the pain when you're pushing isn't that bad. Like, I was speaking to my friend about this and she said to me it's because you know that obviously it's the end and there's something, it's progressive pain. So when I was actually pushing, it wasn't hurting as much. The contractions were terrible, but when it got to 10 centimeters and I was pushing, it wasn't hurting as bad. So I'd had a blood test as well during this time. Like, they'd give me a blood test. I don't know when I stopped writing in my notes. Like I said, I was completely out of it. And I'd had a blood test, and 12:30 I started pushing. My contractions slowed down. They were every like 45 seconds and they started going to every 5 minutes. So when I was pushing, they went to every 5 minutes, every 5 to 7 minutes. I was like, what the hell? So apparently I was really good at pushing because the clip obviously that they put on the baby's head kept kind of pulling. There's like a string that's attached to the clip, was coming out further and further. So she said that I was really good for a first time pusher. That the clip was coming out further and further. I'd only pushed for about half an hour before the doctor came, and she basically told me that I had an infection, I had sepsis from the blood results. And she said that we have to get you down to theatre, emergency. So yeah, I had sepsis. They said we need to get the baby out now. We're gonna try with forceps. What'll happen is you'll get a 34th degree tear. We'll do an episiotomy and we'll pull him out with forceps. And if that doesn't work, we'll give you a C-section. So I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna be ripped from my missus to my butt, and I'm gonna have a episiotomy and I'm gonna have a 34th degree tear, loads of stitches. That's not gonna work. Then I'm gonna have a C-section. I'm gonna be cut from my stomach as well. So I got down to theatre. Bear in mind, like I said, I was still contracting. I was 10 centimeters. They had to give me a spinal, and they said they'll give me the spinal first just in case they had to do a cesarean emergency C-section if the forceps didn't work. So they gave me the spinal. They gave me the spinal. I ended up weeing myself while they were giving me the spinal because my catheter had been taken out, I think. Yeah, it had been taken out because obviously I was ready to push. So I'd taken the catheter out. I ended up peeing myself on the table because it hurt so bad, the contractions, and I had to stay completely still while they put the spinal in. So they put the spinal in. It's supposed to numb you from the chest down, from under the bust down. It numbed me from the neck down. The only thing I could feel was my forearms and my hands, that's it, and my face. So it numbed me from the neck down, which was not good. They told me to push, and they would try to put the forceps in to pull him out because he was already in the birth canal. As I said, I was 10 centimeters. And they put their hand up there to feel whether or not I could actually push with this spinal. So I pushed and nothing was happening. So thankfully they didn't put the forceps in. They said we'll go straight to a C-section. Because if they'd have put the forceps in and I couldn't push, then I would have already been teared or ripped, and then they would have gone to the C-section anyway. So I had a C-section. He was born at about, by the time we'd done all the, you know, they'd gone through everything with me, the anaesthesia, I'd signed the consent forms, all that sort of thing, to actually have the C-section and have the forceps delivery and stuff. Before I got down to theatre, it was about 2 o'clock, and by 2:25 they had basically cut me open and took him out. And the funniest thing is, like, I'm saying this is funny, but whatever. The funny thing was, when I was on the C-section table, I was so tired. They said to me, do you work out? And I was thinking, what are they talking about? I was absolutely out of it. They were like, do you work out? I was like, I used to before I was pregnant. They were like, you've got really tight ab muscles. We're finding it very difficult to get him out. I was like, okay. And also I fell asleep on the C-section table and I was snoring. So that was great for me, snoring on the C-section table whilst they were doing this operation. They were like, do you want us to put the shield up, like kind of like a guard so I can't see? I was like, nah, I can't be bothered. Like, just do it. I'm not going to lift my head up to have a look anyway. I was that tired. So I was snoring on the C-section table. My husband said he watched everything in terms of the C-section. He was sat at my head, but he looked over and he could see everything. He was like, they were pushing everything. They were stapling things to the side. They pushed some sort of organ around. I don't know what. They started jiggling him out. And they pulled him out of my birth canal, basically. So my C-section scar is a lot lower than usual. They pulled him out of the birth canal. And then they put him on me after they'd taken him away and done his weight and stuff. And I couldn't feel him, unfortunately, because, like I said, I was numb from the neck down, which is really horrible. But he was absolutely beautiful. And, yeah, I had the C-section. So that was my birth story. I know that wasn't great, but, yeah. One thing I will mention is that if you are getting induced, your partner will not be allowed to come with you unless you are in the birth suite. So they'll only be able to be on the antenatal ward from visiting times, and my visiting times were 10 till 7, but we got there at 2. And they'll only be able to come when you're in the birth suite. Once I'd given birth, he could stay with me because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. So he stayed with me, and then he had to go 7 o'clock the following day. So after the visiting time was over. So he stayed with me throughout the night, which was really nice of them. They did let him stay with me, but they don't usually. So he stayed all night with me, and he stayed all throughout the day. And then when I was moved to the postnatal ward, they moved me at 2 o'clock because they said, if we move you to the postnatal ward at 2, he can stay with you all up until 2 o'clock and then stay from 2 till 7 as well. So the midwives were absolutely lovely. But yeah, that's my birth story. It was traumatic for me because it was very tiring. It was, like I said, very, very painful because the contractions were every 2 minutes and then went down to every 45 seconds for 36 hours. Or 27 hours, whatever. It was long, it was difficult, but I have a baby at the end of it, and I can't remember the pain now. Everyone says that. I can remember like how bad it was, the fact that it was painful, but I don't remember the feeling, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it was great. I mean, the fact that I got a baby at the end of it was great, but that's the birth story. If you have any questions at all, then please let me know. If you have any questions about being plus size with the C-section, please let me know, because I couldn't find anything about that on the internet, so I found that quite difficult, like healing while plus size and having a C-section. Do you want me to make a video on that? Because obviously our belly kind of hangs over our cesarean scar, so it's not like we've got flat stomach and a C-section scar can be aired out easy, you know. So yeah, I'm healing well. It's been 4 weeks. I'm feeling good, and I'll see you in the next one. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Please give me a thumbs up, and yeah, see you next time, guys. Bye.